Hear all videos here, to base be the glory.
Who that what? Who that? Who that what? Who that what? Who that what? Who that? Who that what? Who that what? 28 what? Who that? Hold that what? Who that what? Free back what? Who that? Whoa.
Welcome back to Who That 242. I'm your host Timmy. We're here on the Solid Podcast Network. This is episode 24. It's a special episode, not because it's just Kobe's number and the All-Star game was passed, and shout out to Kobe, but this is because we have our new sponsor for the year. Shout out to Live, Believe, and Best. We'll tell you about a few about live deals throughout the episode, but just come back to refer a friend and bring your own device. So episode 24, got my man Cam, man, those are not my producer Cam. Cameron knows. Cam, how's it going, man?
Morning. What's going on, dog?
Everything good. From I know you always been like a stylish guy, trendy guy. You don't dress how everyone dress. You have your own style. So talk to me about where your personal style came from. We grew up with watching TV and rap. So talk to me about whether it be local or international, where your personal style came from.
So my sense of style comes from a lot of places, dog. I can't lie. I know one of my first influences was my mommy, dog. I ain't gonna lie. Like growing up.
From the womb.
From the womb, bro. Like growing up, if I ever wanted my mommy to buy me something, she had to like it first. So I had to make sure I looked good before I could even get it. So that was definitely a very initial influence. And then one of my godbrothers growing up, same thing. He was big drip. I don't know if you remember Devin. Yeah, bro. Devin was big drip, dog. And I ain't gonna lie, I never admit it. But it was him. He helped me a lot. I ain't gonna lie, he helped me a lot. And then probably one of my final influences was Kanye, dog.
Yeah.
Like a lot of niggas don't like giving Kanye credit for whatever reason.
Because I guess the last couple of years has been some weird stuff.
Every year had been some weird shit, bro. Every year. But, he consistently him. And I rate him for it.
So how do you feel about this current big rain boots stuck again over the edge face right now?
I love it.
At least you want this. At least you can say
right.
He ain't got it now.
Right. I love it, but at the end of the day, still consistently him, bro. You know what I'm saying? And that's more so what I took from him. There was definitely a time where I actually liked what he was wearing.
Yeah.
But even then, it was consistently him, so that's what I more so.
And I can remember because Kanye his first 5 albums perfect to me. I remember when he first came out, he had doing the shades,
right?
The nine shoes.
Yeah.
He brought the polos and the jackets over from that was like that prime when college dropout, graduation, late registration. Right. You could tell he had a huge impact on the culture. And look at Yeezys. How many people wearing Yeezys now? Like as much as they wear a Jordans or a Kobe.
Yeezy is a $5 billion brand, though. He got $1 billion partnership with the Gap now, just off of Yeezy. So. You call him whatever you want. He's also a billionaire, multi-billionaire. So
talk to me about power clothing, from the name to the influence to why you want to sell clothes? Because some people I know sell clothes just because they want to make a side hustle, but I can tell you passionate about stuff like this. So talk to me about clothing.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, I'm proper passionate about it. I always consider myself a creative more so than anything else. Very much so a right-brained individual. I definitely thought it was harder to get a bag off of that as opposed to being a doctor, lawyer, or
whatever. Of course, it's the road less traveled.
Right, yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, it's something that I really like, something that's very passionate about. So I was like, bro, I can go for it. And if I could convince my mommy to send me to school for that, I can go. And I did, and she did. And, when I was over there, I can't lie, I didn't wind up stumbling onto power clothing or achieving power clothing the way that I thought I would have. But at the end of the day, I still gave myself a 5-year window to get this done. And within that window, I did. So that's how I feel about my journey.
So talk to me about it, because I can't imagine what you would do in school for so talk to me about what the school you went to, what the degree is, the type of class you take, the theory. Just talk to me about that. To me, that's interesting. I know, like I said, I was a big fan of Kanye, so I know when he went right before that Fiscal Fantasy, he did like 4 weeks in fashion school and stuff. That always
he did an internship with Virgil.
Right.
And Virgil did an internship at Fendi, I think.
Yeah, so stuff like that always especially as men, you always say women talk. So it's always interesting to hear a man's point of view on that process.
So before I answer that question, I want to acknowledge what you said just now about men. Another reason why Kanye was a huge influence for me is because pursuing fashion, all the icons was always white, gay, and European. And I was never none of them things.
Right.
Kanye
straight black
man. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Straight black man. You see what I'm saying? So just seeing him being able to accomplish that as who he was, looking how he looked, liking who he liked, I was like, bro, I could do this too. And I did that shit. So sorry, back
No,
to
no, but
yeah.
I just want to bring it up, but I happy brother. So it's talking about that process of like going to school for it, telling my friends, "I'm gonna go study fashion." Like, just talking about all the facets of you as a young black man pursuing that.
Okay, so by the time I went, so my process pretty much was day one getting there, right? So I started the fashion program. It was a 2-year program, and like I said, by the time I started, I was crazy into it. By the end of the program, not so much, because like I say, I wound up realizing that it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought that once I immersed myself in a fashion program, regardless of what it was, I was going to wind up having the answers that I needed to,
The next
start a
step.
brand, right?
Yeah.
And that didn't happen. So by the time I was finished,
Where was it?
it's in Toronto.
Okay, nice.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
of course, in Toronto, the city I know is just like a different type of vibe and
Right,
energy.
right.
Yeah.
So I was more so taking influence from everything else.
Yeah, yeah.
As
That
opposed
class
to
itself.
right, as opposed to class itself. But either way, it still wound up working out. So after I was working there, I mean after I was in school, I was working there. I was working within fashion as well. I work at Urban Outfitters. I work at Adidas. I work
Nice.
at Lululemon. Like I work at a lot of different places.
And what you say work, like what was their role in those jobs?
It was just retail jobs, bro.
Yeah.
It's nothing serious.
Yeah, but at least you learn the knowledge, you know how to sell,
Right.
you
Yeah.
learn the
Exactly.
consumers. That side of
Exactly.
it, yeah.
And the reason why I'm able to do what I do now is because I was a consumer first.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
you,
and
you was buying it first.
right.
And then
Exactly.
you was selling it.
Exactly.
So now you know
exactly.
how to
And I
push.
knew exactly what it is they wanted, and I knew exactly what made clothes worth what they was worth. Yeah. So that's pretty much the journey. And then literally, bro, like I said, I was in Toronto 5 years. In school for the first 2, worked for the last 3. And obviously the world ended in 2020.
Yeah, yeah. Because I saw your power started in 2020.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly when things started to shift for me. Because, I ain't gonna lie, I ain't saying I was ready to give up, but I definitely was discouraged.
You was towards the end.
Right,
of the journey.
yeah, starting to plateau for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
But then, like I said, the world ended, and I had all the time in the world, to just work on what I actually wanted to do. So I wound up reaching out to my boy, Trey Pratt. Shout out to Trey Pratt. He's actually the designer for Power Clothing.
Nice.
He been to school. He been to fashion school as well, but he did design. I did fashion management.
Okay. Because you want to do that side of things.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Because I never wanted to be a designer.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's get that clear. Design is hard work.
Yeah.
Even within my management program, I had a design class. And all we make was a pair of jockey, bro. You know what I'm saying? It take me 4 months, a whole semester to make a pair of jockey, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's all I can tell you, bro.
Yeah.
Design is
This
hard
shit
work,
ain't
bro.
easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I respect designers. You know what I'm saying? I never call myself a designer because I know how it is to actually be one. I'm more of a curator.
Okay. And that's fine. Everyone has their own lane. Even in any industry, you cannot do everything.
Yes,
you need a team. Everyone has to be specialized.
Bro, you think Kanye sitting behind a sewing machine
Hell no.
Hell no. So anyway, so I reached out to Trey, proper designer. He done work with Nike, Off-White, Oakley,
Awesome.
yeah. And because he been to school in London with my sister.
Nice.
That's how I want to meet him. And I reached out to him and I was like, yo, here's what I want to do. How can I go about doing it? Blah, blah, blah. And we was just brainstorming. And obviously, we both going through the same thing. The whole world going through, this global
right now, people
pandemic.
ain't remember buying clothes. We saw
Right.
people buy toilet tissue. They're like,
Right,
exactly. Get fresh.
exactly.
They can't go nowhere.
But either way, we still had the time to brainstorm. We had more than enough time. So anyway, I ran it by him, and he was down. But obviously, this type of stuff take money. So just off of excitement, I wound up talking to one of my other friends, Krishad Lang. I don't know if you know Krishad, but either way, shout out to Krishad regardless. Whether you know him, whether anyone listening to this knows Krishad, shout out to Krishad. Krishad is the reason why I started Power Clothing, because he was the one that's like, yo, how much would it cost to finance this? And I was like, why? And he's like, bro, because I'd be interested in financing it.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. And like I
So you go
say,
and crunch the numbers.
right, yeah. And like I said, I only tell him because I was excited about the fact that, one day,
Eventually.
right,
you
yeah,
can
I'd
do
be
this.
able to. Meanwhile, he trying to make this happen tomorrow.
Yeah, you should say, "Okay, what's the money you need to make this
Right,
happen?"
exactly.
They got
So after he essentially gave me the green light, I go on back to Trey and we start working on a budget. We start figuring out, how much it would cost to, to design an entire collection, blah, blah, blah. So initially we was going to do a collection. But
So
then,
do it in a season or something like that.
so a collection would be 10 to 12 garments or
Okay.
more.
Okay.
Right. But you don't realize how big of a budget goes into making a collection. It was like 50K.
Yeah. Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So when I wound up telling Krishad that, yeah, he was still down, but he was like, yo, let's start something smaller. Not because he couldn't afford it,
Yeah.
but because he
Really,
just
trying.
yeah, he was just trying to be realistic. Yeah. And that's how we
But
wanted.
you spend the 50K on traveling and ain't nothing selling in the
Boom.
cars. You know what? Yeah.
Exactly. So that's how we wound up doing the mini drops instead, as opposed to the entire collection. So, and then, me and Trey wound up doing a budget for that instead. And then after we did the budget for that, then I started sourcing everything. I started reaching out to
And
them.
were you still in Canada or were you back home at this point?
I was still in Canada
Okay.
because I just moved back January 2021.
Okay.
And I started this process July 2020.
Okay. So about 6 months.
Right.
6 months.
Right. So so I started doing everything, especially after, like I said, I already got the green light. We
Got some
started,
seed money.
right. Yeah. Exactly. So I started reaching out to printing companies, and that's where it started getting stressful
Yeah.
because either they offered exactly what I needed, but they was crazy unprofessional,
Yeah.
or they were very professional, but they just didn't offer what I
Didn't have
needed.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just a stressful process. But then by the time I wound up moving back home, I was going to try and use a printing company over here. Didn't work. But then one of my friends in Toronto put me onto the perfect printing company. And now here I am.
And that's what you still using.
Yeah, still using them to this day.
So
Yeah.
before you move on, let's shout out to Live. Refer a friend. So think of your friends that are not in the Live network. And multiply that by 25. So basically, if you have, let's say I have a Live phone. So if I get 25 here right now, I get cash back for every person. So, things are hard in COVID.
Little hard.
People like me, I like a Live. So I refer. So please, I will refer you. I'll put the link in there. 25 of you all get it, and that's money for me. And you get better service, and I get some money in my pocket. You love who that. Keep fun who that. But basically, like I say, every friend that switches get $25, and so not only do I get the money, you get the money. So you know,
It's a win-win.
But the people ain't doing that. You just ain't doing that. So come on, man. So refer a friend and start earning the day with a Live. So you said something earlier, and I joked about you in your DM. I was like, "That's the price of your clothes." And I was like, "Use Virgil." So before I get into my joke, talk to me about for the uninitiated, how important it is what Virgil did as a black man in the industry that he's been in. Like how huge is he as an icon?
Well, like I say about the whole Kanye thing, it was just monumental because I look up to Kanye look up to Virgil.
Yeah.
So of course, Virgil was a big deal. Rest in peace, Virgil, by the
rest in
way.
peace, yeah, man.
But yeah, that was a huge deal, bro, because Virgil had his own brand.
Off-White.
Right, Off-White.
And he worked for LMVH.
Right.
Yeah.
So what actually happened is Off-White was his own brand, but he wound up selling a majority stake to LVMH. So it definitely stood alone, and that was an even bigger deal because.
They bought into a black.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
He was the first, and then they bought into Rihanna's brand.
Fenty.
Fenty.
Yeah.
Right. So he definitely was like an icon.
Trailblazer.
Yeah, trailblazer for sure. So Virgil definitely meant a lot for people like me, people like Kanye, people like you.
So
everyone.
you said you know the price of clothes. So break down to me what goes into because when you make a price for item, talk to me. You said you know the price of how much things cost. So break it down for us who actually care what we wearing. What goes into the cost of an item we buy?
Okay, cool. So when I was sourcing everything, one thing I wanted to make sure that I was true to was quality. So, for example, the average T-shirt is about 4 or 5 ounces. My T-shirt's 9 ounces.
So some weight to them.
Right.
It'll take,
The average sweatshirt is about 12 to 15 ounces. My sweatshirt is 20 ounces. So that's one thing that kind of raises the price a little bit. Another thing is the printing process. Like there's 2 main printing processes. There's screen printing. And then
most people know because you won't go something for I'll be birthday very quick. You go get a screen.
right, yeah, exactly. So there's screen printing, what everyone know.
Yeah.
And then there's DTG, which is direct to garment.
Okay.
So with screen printing, they print in layers.
Yeah.
They print the background, they print the design, and then the font, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But with DTG, they literally copy the graphic and paste it onto the top of the garment. So it sounds simple, but you paying for that simplicity,
Right.
because it's very hard for a machine to do that.
Because it got a good
Right, exactly. And they gotta kind of like etch it into the garment so it don't look like
Is it basically you tattoo the
right.
graphic on the shirt?
Boom.
Yeah.
So that's why it's such an expensive process, and there's a lot of places that can't do it. That's the problem that I wind up facing over here. Because when I moved home, I brought home all my blank sweatshirts, all my blank T-shirts, and I was gonna just find a printing company over here, but no printing company over here does DDG. And like with this graphic, for example, right? You just realize there's a lot of gradients, right? It ain't just a straight blue. It's a lighter blue straight to a darker blue. That's another thing that screen print cannot do. You need DTG for some of that. So DTG is another thing that raises the price again. And then you got to think about labels, because obviously I'm not going to keep the original labels in the garment. I'm going to put my power clothing labels in. I got to take the original label out and then replace it with my labels, and I got to sew that in. Then you got to think about packaging, because like you say, like I know, my shit ain't cheap, bro.
Yeah.
You say saying power clothing T-shirt, $126, $123. Power clothing sweatshirt, $196. You know, it ain't cheap. But these are all the things that are raising the price. It's the packaging. So if I have expensive garments, at least I could give my customers some proper packaging.
A nice packaging, yeah.
And then also it's the labor. You know, like there's a lot, you know, that goes into this process. I ain't going through all this to break even.
Yeah, yeah.
You say
You want to make a profit.
Right. I want to, like,
You
you should want me to make a profit
yeah.
too, right? Like, same way I want you to make a profit, same way I want him to make a profit.
Yeah.
You said, and when I say profit, I don't mean 5 times, 10 times, 20. You know, I just mean a profit.
Something worth it.
Something worth my time. That's all I said. That's all.
Talk to me about this design, because basically you got this lady with a necklace and a collarbone and like a crab on it. So talk to me about when you designed this, what you designed.
So this is actually a picture of my sister.
Okay.
Right. That's why I'd say family first at the bottom.
So you got meaning behind it.
Right. So Power Clothing, the reason why I call it Power Clothing is because it's a brand about empowering Bahamian creatives. So this is a photo shoot that my sister did with Sherrod Lightborn. I don't know if you know Sherrod.
Yeah, sure. Right. And actually know your sister. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So yeah, that's a photo shoot that Sherrod did with my sister a few years ago. So same thing, during quarantine, I reached out to him and I was like, yo, like, is it okay if I use this image for my brand? And he's like, yeah. And I said, okay, cool. So I reached out to him, got the permission. We signed a contract, everything.
Make sure everything's legit.
Yeah, make sure everything legit. And yeah, and then I went ahead and made this happen. And this is something I'm very proud of, actually, because my sister was the one who actually talked me into going to fashion school. Because obviously I know I wanted to go. I know it's something I wanted to do. But she's like, but I'm like, wait, I know how I could tell mommy this.
Yeah.
And she said, don't worry about mommy. Me and you, we can sit down. We can talk to mommy. We can make this happen.
Yeah, it's a big sis come true. Say, come on.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's what family for.
Yeah.
Hence, family first. So that's
you didn't say
definitely.
your mom also went to fashion school?
No. She just is big drip rope.
Oh, yeah.
Simple as that, dog.
Not natural.
Yeah, bro. She just got it in her veins, dog. You know, and I waited for it.
So talk to me about the next type of what you're thinking about the future. You know, we 2 months into the year, but we 3 months in the year. What do you kind of working on this year?
So yeah, I got at least 2 or 3 drops already set, pretty much. It was just a matter of picking which ones to go with first. I went with this one, and I went with the flamingo tee at first.
Yeah, I like that. So was it really any reason why you put the flamingo in the back and not the front? Like me, as a man, I like my graphic tees. But I don't like put stuff in the back because I can't take a picture. When I take the picture, you can't see it. But that's just me personally. So talk to me about
it's so I big on big graphics.
Yeah, me too.
Right.
I want to be in front. But like I said, I fuck with it. I like it. But just me personally, I rather my stuff in the front.
No, I mean, it's just some could be in the front, some could be in the back. It did wind up hurting me in the long run, because another thing that I forgot to explain with the price point is that when you printing on the front and you printing on the back, you get charged twice for that. Jeez. Exactly. Even though it's just one little crest on the front, yeah. Wow. Even though it's just one crest on the front and then a big graphic on the back, you get charged twice for that. Wow. But at the end of the day, I just really liked how it looked, and I trust my designer.
I really like that flamingo design.
Yeah, so I trust my designer enough to go with that. Yeah.
So like I said, I see this big long spiel on your website about the power of clothing. Like, so talk to me about just a bit more like the meaning of power, because like, so some power is basically like anything can be power, but why power? What was so strong about that word to name the company Power of Clothing?
Well, like I say, it's definitely about empowering Bahamian creatives, though. Like, it's an urban brand inspired by Bahamian culture. I'm huge on Bahamian culture. I definitely wouldn't say I always was, But living in a foreign land,
Could love it.
bro, you'd be
Okay.
surprised how patriotic you could become, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you'd be surprised. Like, when I go on over there, I definitely wanted to start an urban brand, but I didn't necessarily need it to be Bahamian. Now I need it to be Bahamian. You know, like, I'm very big on that. So that's something that I made sure I stuck to and was very, like, adamant about making happen.
So Live also has this new promotion called Bring Your Own Device. So if you're prepaid and you port to Live, you could get $50 cash back over the 5 months when you bring your own phone. If you're postpaid like me, because I can't deal with having my phone cut off. Like I've been postpaid for at least like 10 years now. But if you port to Live, you get $550 back over 18 months when you bring your own device. So like people like, you know, my rich friend, right, he might go buy an iPhone, buy an iPhone in Toronto, and he want to switch over, and you know, so bring your own device and you get cash back over the period of time. So like I say, Park Clothing, I like that you, and that's my thing. I fuck with people who fuck with Bahamian, so like, I really like to support those type of people.
Yeah, bro.
And you can see any like collaborations coming on. Like, can we get you doing a fashion show? And when you see you've been to school for this fashion management, can we get you a storefront, or you trying to stay online?
So let me just help anyone who trying to get into this. If you're gonna open a storefront, that's very expensive. It's definitely better to start off online.
Especially at COVID and stages of the everything.
Yeah, exactly. And bro, everyone online anyway.
Yeah.
So you might as well start online. Like obviously, if you pop in like that, because you got brands to this, like right now, $1 million brands like LeBron James wearing it. Like there's a brand called Rude, RHUDE.
RHUD?
RHUDE.
Okay.
From a Filipino designer. Jay-Z wearing his shit, LeBron wearing his shit, all these NBA niggas wearing his shit. Rude still don't have a store.
Wow.
Because you don't necessarily need it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So like keep that in mind. Like don't just because everyone have it don't mean you gotta have one. Like Gucci got a store, but it's Gucci, bro.
It's Gucci, yeah.
You know? Also, you don't have to rush to put your stuff in other people's stores either. Because that cuts your profit in half.
Right.
You see what I'm
Because you're
saying?
paying them to have your stuff.
Exactly, because you got to sell it to them wholesale. Like, let's say it cost me $20 to make a shirt, right? I'd resell it for $80, but I got to sell it to them wholesale for $40. So just like that, I miss out on $40. You know what I'm saying? So don't be too quick to say, okay, well.
Because you have it.
Yeah. Just because you want your shit in Essence or, you know, like all these big name stores. Like, your time can come where you making so much money where it don't matter if you selling retail or wholesale. So just be patient.
And like, so like you said, this is a luxury urban brand. So your customer base, I mean, regular as people who are Santi or, you know, who selling $10 to $20 shirts. So what do you see, your vision of who you want wearing these shirts, where you want to sell these? Like, what's your, like, the peak of what you see Park Clothing being?
The peak of who I want seeing it?
Yeah. Oh, no, just the brand itself. Because, I mean, like, when you think of, like you said, the Root, you know that Root is worn by NBA players or that's on rappers. What do you see Park Clothing being like? Maybe a rapper post here. Like, what you aspiring for?
Bro, as cliche as this may sound, I want everyone to wear Power Clothing. Like, it's probably going to take a while, the same way it took a while for everyone to get a pair of Yeezys, but it's been, 8 years?
Yeah.
9 years now? 9 years.
Yeah, almost 10
Wow.
years, yeah.
But everyone got a pair of Yeezys at this point. You know, like, I ain't going to make it so expensive where you can't afford it at all, but I ain't going to make it so cheap to the point where I'm giving it away.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Because like I said, your process has a worth.
Exactly. I never said I was making cheap shit. I ain't H&M. You see what I'm saying? No disrespect to H&M, $1 billion company. You see what I'm saying?
It's funny because that's where I buy my shirts from, but everything.
Right, me too. Me too. So like, don't think I dissing H&M.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I just want to assume that sweet spot.
Yeah. Right.
So that way, like, it's the same way you could save up 100, 150 for a pair of Jordans back in the day. It's probably a little bit more now, 200, 250.
Inflation,
You're right. But the same way you could save up for that, you could save up for a Power Clothing tee, bro, or a Power Clothing sweatshirt.
And I appreciate that because, like I say, most people you stick into your guns. Most people are like, okay, and that's why I asked you first. Are you doing this because you love it, or you do this to make a profit? Some people selling clothes just because they need to make a couple dollars. So of course they go make it.
But that'll always show though.
Yeah,
that'll always show. You could see that. Oh, they just trying to make a couple dollars because I only trying to make a couple dollars t-shirt.
Yeah,
you know,
like they got a screen, they print it out.
Right. I could have made this long time, you know. Yeah. Like I said, I started July 2020. I could have been finished August 2020, bro. But like I just wanted to make sure I get this shit right. It ain't just about a profit. Of course, I want to make a profit.
Yeah.
But I want to get it right.
There's a meaning behind it. And you don't want people to wear that shirt and then after watch a couple of times.
Right, next thing you know, it's a Shami. You know what I'm saying?
You see your boss sister face starting to
Right. No, you ain't gonna be washing your car with no power glue and shit, bro.
So this is pretty good. It's pretty informative. And we talking off air about the Kanye documentary. I didn't actually know you was a big Kanye fan until we started.
Huge Kanye fan.
So like
bro.
I saying, I'm gonna wait until after the third part coming next week before I watch it. But I've been seeing like some good feedback. And I don't know whose idea it was to like focus on shooting it, but they said they have some like prime content like in the psychiatrist's office and like this is some never before seen stuff. I just hate what he has become now with between the Micah stuff and the crying for his wife and that is kind of into that.
It's a lot.
But the first 5 albums, I know word for word. Like
for real.
My favorite song ever, like my actual favorite song is "I Wonder" off Graduation. That's my favorite song ever. So like, I'm a huge
one of my favorite old Kanye songs is "Runaway," for sure.
And the
piano part, bro.
Yeah. So my beautiful so in my life, I have a lot of albums that define. I remember periods of my life. I remember Dark Fantasy. I was in COB. I drive my little 2-door car, and I just every time I hear Monster and So Apart, like I just take me back to a certain place. I remember when 808s dropped and me and this girl break up, and like I remember Heartless and all that. I remember I Wonder. I remember College Dropout. I remember being away in the States, listening to Through the Wire. I remember when Diamonds first came out. I thought it was the hottest shit ever. Like I'm such a huge Kanye fan.
Yeah, I definitely got into Kanye, I would say, from... What was that name of the album? Life of Pablo.
Oh, wow, really? Wow, that's what I sounded like.
So obviously, since I got into that, I wound up going back.
Backwards,
right.
I'm jealous because I wish at that stage I could hear old Kanye for the
Right,
first time.
True,
Yeah. I remember Yeezus was when my sister graduated SAC. She graduated out, so Yeezus would have been 2013. So it's just so crazy that I could, a lot of moments in my life, I could put back to the Kanye album.
Yeah, one thing with me, if I find out about someone, it don't matter how late I find out about them, I'll go back. Because sending with TV, I just stopped, me and my sister was talking about this yesterday, I just started watching TV, bro. Yeah. Like, I started watching TV, like, maybe 10 years ago. Yeah. And everyone's like, how? Like, what you was doing? And I'm like, bro, I was outside, though.
You was in the streets?
Yeah, bro, I was on road, bro. You know what I'm saying? Sending with music, like, only when I gone off to school.
I never realized that's a big part of Toronto, like, the music player.
Yeah, because you on the subway all the time. You know, like, you take the subway everywhere. Yeah. So the least I could do is listen to music on the way. Yeah. So I just wound up getting really big into it. And then over there, they big into music, too. Because it's Toronto, bro. Drake from there. Yeah. You know, like, everyone into music over there, so...
So anyway else, you want people to know about you, what they find hardcore, and just tell people what you want them to know.
Well, I just want everyone to know that I'm very serious about this. I'm very passionate about this brand. This ain't just a gimmick. You know, I want people to tune in to Power Clothing and to what's to come. I want people to know that I'm willing to take this as seriously as I need to. And I can't wait to see how big Power Clothing is about to be. Shout out Power Clothing. At Power Clothing Bahamas.
Which I follow it right down there on the you know. So thank you so much. It's been episode 24 of Who Dat 242 and so podcast. I am Timmy, and you know, leaving best with live. We are live, and see you next time.
Who that what? Who that? Who that what? Who that what? Who that what? Who that? Who that what? Who that what? 28.